Hi, welcome back my friends. In this video I'm showing you how I made a long sleeve top from all the scraps I had left over from my last project. And I'm gonna also show you how you can make your own basic, stretchy, long sleeved top pattern from, a top you already have. So if this is helpful or enjoyable in any way, please hit like, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. Alright, so I chose a long sleeved top that I had. The sleeves aren't very long, but that doesn't matter. I am tracing the body, just, half of it. And I'm actually just tracing the back and then adding the front neckline in later because I'm gonna change that anyway after I try it on for the first time. I also copied the sleeve, but added like so many centimeters. In the end, I think it was 70, which was a little long for me, but just measure from your shoulder. I also planned to extend the bodice piece a little longer because I was gonna add the ruching later. And here is me doing fabric Tetris to see if I can fit all of the pieces. This took me quite a while, but because this is stretchy fabric, it worked out pretty much okay. So these are all the pieces. As you can see, I have two back pieces, which I'm just gonna sew right along the middle as my first step. Then I am placing both bodice pieces right sides together, and I am simply sewing the shoulder seams. I do all of this with an overlock because it works really well with this fabric, but you can just use a zigzag stitch. Here I am seeing if it's actually big enough, and it was, so thank God we can continue. Here I am adjusting the neckline for the first time. I did end up making it much deeper because that's just what I prefer for my tops. I like my neck to breathe. So this is what it looks like right now. Next step is putting in the sleeves. I add the sleeves in before I close up the side seams because that works much better for me. If you're not as perfect in cutting out, this works really well because you can still sew around the excess and it will look perfectly fine, especially if it's stretchy. So I'm just going carefully around the curve of the shoulder seam on both sides. And then I laid it out right sides together again, and now you can see it's kind of a top already. And I just pinned the underarm and the side seam, and I sewed that all at once in one go. As you can see, there is a little bit of overhang underneath the armpit, but I just kind of leveled that out and it worked perfectly fine. Here I am trying it on for the first time. As you can see, it's too long. The arms are also a little bit long, but the bodice is long on purpose because now I am going to sew in some channels so I can put in some ties. Oh no, first I'm gonna cut the neckline again. And before I do the channels, I even out the bottom because that wasn't perfect either. And I also hem the bottom because when you put in the channels, there's no way to do that anymore without closing them. So I just chose like a decorative stretch stitch and it looked pretty good. So that's what I went with. Next up, I cut out two strips that are the length of my bodice. and I placed them right on the side seams, half on one side and half on the other side, and I pinned them just as good as I could. I actually didn't fold it over or anything. I had bias tape, but I decided against it because this fabric just feels so nice. It doesn't fray, which is why I simply left it that way. And I also folded over the bottom so it would be finished. Then I simply sewed along one side up and then one side down again. You shouldn't close the top because you're gonna wanna pull your string through there. And then I actually flipped it over and tried to sew exactly in the middle of those both lines. Ideally, this would be exactly on your side seam, but obviously it wasn't for me. But it worked out just fine because when you have your arms down and it's ruched, it doesn't really matter. Here I am making the ties, so I'm just folding it once over and then once over again, like in thirds, and I'm just gonna stitch it down with a zigzag. That will make it stable, and it actually looks pretty cute. Then I'm taking a safety pin and I'm threading it up one side of the channel. When I get to the top, I'm just gonna pull out the safety pin, pin the strap on there, and then I'm gonna do the same for the other side of the channel. And when I have both of them pinned, I'm simply gonna sew over it with a straight line. And for the neckline, I cut out a strip of fabric and then I sewed together the ends so it would make a loop. I folded that loop in half like I'm showing you here, and I actually made this loop a little bit less wide than the measurement of the neckline, so it can sit flush to the neckline and not like hang open weirdly. And I'm sewing this together right sides with my overlocker, and I'm actually pulling the band I made, but not the shirt itself. And the last step was shortening the sleeves just a little bit and stitching them and hemming them just the exact same way I did the bottom of the top. So yeah, this is it. I wore it with my pants. It looks very special, and I don't know if I would go out like that, but it's definitely a look. Here are some of the details of the top. I hope this helped you or entertained you, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave me a lovely comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye!